November 1st. I thought I knew fear. The Scorch, the super mutants, even the damn Scorch Beast. I'd faced them all. But today, I learned what true terror looks like. I came face to face with a Deathclaw. After an uncomfortable few hours of rest, it was time for a trapper-style hunt trip. Armed with the explosive bait, I headed out into the woods to find some creatures to blow up. It didn't seem very sportsmanlike, but what about the world is fair anymore? On the top of a cliff, I found a few mutated dogs meandering around. I kept my distance, tossed bait in their direction, and waited to see what would happen. A terrible smell emitted from the bait, but the explosive went off far too soon.
For brutal efficiency! Yeah! I guess the trappers didn't mind picking shrapnel out of their quarries. As cruel as the trappers were, the diehards were the exact opposite. Don't let their name fool you. We called them that because their stubborn asses refused to give up their dignity and couldn't bear to commit unprovoked violence. Pacifists. I don't know much about their special tactics. Did they have any? I don't know. Go find a Deathclaw and make friends with it or something.
Rose told me about the diehards next. She didn't seem to have respect for them at all because they didn't want to hurt people without a good reason. If that's the case, maybe these diehards were better than the other 4 gangs. My next job was to try to befriend a Deathclaw. I really didn't like the sound of that. Whatever it was couldn't have been good. But surely Rose wouldn't send me to die, I thought to myself. How wrong I was. Because a Deathclaw lives up to its name. While looking along the bottom of a cliff for any beast that could earn a name like Deathclaw, I heard gunshots in the distance. Instinctively, I looked around for the source, but instead heard a growl above me. Looking down my scope, I caught my first glimpse of it. How do I even describe the monster I saw? The thing was massive, easily twice my size, walking on 2 legs like some kind of nightmare-given form. Thick, scaly hide, jagged claws as long as my forearm, and a head that looked like it had been carved straight from hell. Its eyes, they were small, beady, but full of something worse than rage. Hunger. Every instinct screamed at me to run, but I knew Rose was watching. I had to befriend this thing, or at least get close enough to make it look like I did. Perhaps sneaking up on it would do the trick. I crouched low, making my way quietly to the beast, and prayed that whatever cruel god created this thing had made it blind. Questions swirled in my mind. Maybe it was smart enough to be spoken to. Super mutants talked. Maybe this thing could be tamed. As I drew closer, I tripped over a rock and stumbled. This was my only chance, I thought to myself. I gave a sharp whistle to try to calm it down before its claw made contact with my leather chest piece under my clothing.
Hey, hold on! I didn't think you'd actually do it. We're talking about a Deathfly here for crying out loud. Well, you're there now. Either kill it or don't. I don't care, as long as I don't have to find a new assistant.
I eventually escaped from the Deathclaw, not wanting to go toe-to-toe with something that massive and intimidating. When I was at a safe distance, Rose taunted me again.
I don't blame you for turning tail and running like a coward. But hey, you're alive and that means you can finish helping me out, so good for you. It's probably a good time to teach you that not everyone can be your friend out there. That's the real takeaway from the diehards. Moving on, the Blackwater Bandits were known for being sneaky thieves. Let me tell you, they once hit a Brotherhood of Steel camp. Insane, right? They snuck right past the guards and stole guns, ammo, mini nukes, you name it. Right out from under the poor bastards while the rest of them slept. Next thing you know, the knights moved on out with their tails between their legs, and we had a new arsenal. Well, we still have heavily armed super mutants. Go steal from them, sneak around. Maybe you won't have to fight them all. But really, all I care about is their gun stash. Might be a good haul, might not. There's only one way to find out.
Rose claimed she was trying to teach me a lesson by going after the Deathclaw. Not everyone is my friend out here. As if I hadn't learned that lesson countless times by this point. I feel foolish for doing exactly as she commanded, but I wouldn't be falling for that again. The Blackwater Bandits were the stealthy raiders, preferring to sneak in and out of places undetected rather than being seen. I could appreciate their tactics, even if I don't like the reasons why they use them. Rose mentioned super mutants being well armed. The last place I remember seeing super mutants was at Horizon's Rest, so I headed back to that settlement, hoping that it was still cleared out. No such luck. As I approached from the same hill I used last time, I found more super mutants had moved in. I took care of them the same way I did last time, taking cover on the hill and sniping down on them. It's funny. As I write about it now, I think back on how just a week or so ago, the sight of these monstrosities had sent chills down my spine. Though I am far from comfortable when I see them, I know I can take them out, so I find them less threatening. Along with the super mutants was a new creature I had never seen before. It was this grotesque, bloated thing hovering in the air. Its flesh was soft and sickly looking, pulsating with an eerie red glow. And its head was topped with a grotesque sack that kept it afloat like a hot air balloon. Lucky for me, it appeared far enough away from me that I could take it out without much trouble. It didn't seem to bother the super mutants. Could they communicate? Or was this a pet to them? It was hard to say.
What? Scared already?
After I finished clearing them out and making a safe path for me into the settlement, I made my way to the top where the guns were most likely kept. Rose wasn't lying about there being heavy weaponry. I was able to find a missile launcher and a few rounds. I can't see myself using it at all, but I stored it away for safekeeping for a rainy day.
Ooh, what'd you find? A missile launcher? Bet you could cause some real damage with that. Ooh. Whatever you picked up, keep it. You've earned it. Okay, this one's a little disgusting, but it's ruthless, so I like it. Ugh, my stomach turns just thinking about this. Then again, I haven't been hungry in a while, so who knows how desperate I'll be when I am and there's no more food to eat. Kinda like the gourmands. We called them that instead of what they really were. Cannibals. I'm not gonna make you eat anyone, but let's go through the exercise anyway. I saw a roaming pack of feral ghouls I want you to hunt down. They're always good for target practice anyway. I'm not saying the gourmands had the right idea. Ugh. But no one can claim they went hungry eating human or ex-human flesh. Just use a toothpick or something before you come back to visit. I don't want to catch a whiff of rotting ghoul flesh on your breath.
The last test I needed to worry about was the gourmands. I had suspicions about the name, but Rose confirmed it. Cannibals. As if raiders weren't terrible enough, now I knew they had cannibals in their midst. I can tell you one thing, I have absolutely no appetite as I'm writing this out. As the sun set, I hunted for ghouls. I'd passed White Spring Resort before but avoided it. Too many powerful bots, too pristine for a ruined world. Still, I'd seen ghouls inside before, so I decided to risk slipping past the machines. I cautiously approached the front entrance to the grounds and the bots didn't seem to mind. Hell, they barely seemed to notice me. I walked down the driveway with a bit more ease, taking in the sight of the freshly cut grass and flowers. Actual flowers. The drive was clean besides a few piles of leaves. It is autumn after all. Lights lined the walking paths and over a hill. I saw the main building of the resort rise up into view. I marveled at how clean it looked, how sturdy it still was. My eyes grew wide when they fell upon the banners that hung out front. The responders. I would know that symbol anywhere. It had been blocked by trees when I peeked in from afar, but standing there, I could see them. They weren't gone for good. They were there, or at least they had been there before. Without a moment to lose, I hurried to the front doors and saw people and ghouls alike wandering around in clean responder
Come
jumpsuits.
up with something more medicinal.
I heard about what happened in Morgantown. I know it was way back, but I'm glad they chose to send me somewhere safe. Not somewhere like that. There's times you've gotta accept the cards you were dealt. Learn to make the best of it.
I walked into the main entrance to the building and was blown away by how clean it was inside. Windows and glass were intact and washed. Carpets were clean, no holes in the ceiling or walls. And all around me, people in dark blue jumpsuits walked here and there. A Mr. Handy stood by the door at a podium that said White Spring Refuge. All are welcome. He didn't seem too happy with the arrangement, but when I asked who was in charge, he pointed out a person named Orlando.
Check in with the medics if you're feeling under the weather.
Orlando was in a suit and bow tie, but was most certainly not a responder. They said that they were the manager of the White Springs Resort, but that they welcomed the responders to stay there and set up a place for people who were in need of help. Medical assistance, food, shelter, they were back and had a place to really make a difference. This is where I wanted to be. Writing this now, I can't express how happy I am knowing they're still out here. I wanted to sign up as a responder on the spot. But then I remembered my promise to the overseer. The real threat, even to White Springs responders, was the Scorched. If I didn't find a way to stop them, none of this would last. I needed to continue my journey, but I knew I would be back someday. Once outside, I started my hunt for ghouls. If I couldn't join the responders just yet, I would make sure they were safer than they were before I got there. As I walked past some of the old buildings that housed guest rooms, I heard the familiar guttural growl of the ghouls. Wiping them out was easy and felt right. I was helping people. Good people. Not doing the bidding of a raider.
Now, the gourmands would go ahead and eat that. Ugh. I can't make you do it, but you're not gonna chicken out on me, are you? Either way, it's time to report back.
Rose piped in with one more message. She had sent me to eliminate ghouls, and now she was trying to convince me to eat ghoul flesh, taunting me by implying I was a chicken. I fell for her demands with the death claw and almost got killed. Eating human flesh, even ex-human flesh, was out of the question. I would never, ever, sink to that level of depravity. I'd rather die of starvation. I took one last look at the new responder HQ before leaving the resort. I vowed to come back, to volunteer and help people in need and make life better in the Wasteland. But for now, I had to keep my eyes focused on the path before me. It was a very hard decision to make, but I made it all the same. Back to the top of the world.
Well, you've learned a bunch of stuff about raider tactics, and I've gotta say, they all seemed ridiculous. Really entertaining to watch from here. Were they effective? I guess so. You survived, didn't you? We can talk about your reward when you get here. Good job, you?
As I reached the top of the world, dawn was breaking. Exhaustion weighed on me, and even my makeshift bed sounded like heaven. I just needed to report to Rose, then I could rest.
Ah, you're back. Why are you looking at me like you want something? Your reward is the knowledge you've gained from me. Congratulations! Hell, whatever. You can have some more stuff I got laying around too. I feel like I trust you enough now to let you in on a little secret. My old raider pals left a cache of treasure behind when they all checked out. Problem is, it's locked away and I can't get in there. Double problem, no one trusted each other enough to give anyone complete access to the treasure. So they split up the key. See, each gang's leader had a holotape with their own personal password on it. Find them all so I can patch them together and make the master key. It's more technical than that, but you wouldn't understand. Check out Blackwater Mine first. That's the last place we heard from Freddie Lang, the leader of the Blackwater Bandits. Pretty sure she had a terminal there. Might be worth a look-see.
Now Rose wants me to find all 5 keys that were kept by the leaders of each of the raider gangs. Hopefully this is the last task I need to do to get my hands on the uplink Madigan had talked about. Then I can get away from these raiders and never look back. I'm back at my little campsite in the hallway behind the shops on the 2nd floor. I tried to cook up some mole rat meat I had taken during the day, but the thought of the gourmands eating people has really killed my appetite. I'll save it for another day. Here's hoping I can get more sleep than last time I crashed here.